This is Jared and Jake from XENEK, and we're going to talk to you a little bit about the Apex ground blind. The first thing we want to show off, the ground blind actually comes with a pretty complex backpack. It's really not designed to be a big long bivy pack, but it is designed to be able to get all of your gear into the field for an all-day sit in one trip. So obviously you can see here we've got an antelope decoy because we're getting ready to go out on an antelope hunt tomorrow, and we've got the bow strapped on, a couple blind chairs, and as I pull this stuff off you'll see there's some really big oversized pouches. So you can have enough gear on to be able to sit two guys comfortably in a blind all day. So each of these pouches are significantly oversized in order to be able to get everything from food to extra clothes and everything else on them. Pull out the antelope decoy here. You'll see that the bow or gun carrier has a pouch at the bottom to be able to stick the butt of the gun or the bottom cam of your bow in. And then just a couple of straps, pretty standard for backpacks that have bow carriers on them. And then another chair, and again a large oversized pouch. So one other feature that we wanted to have on our backpack was a good hip belt and a sternum strap, so that, again, it's not designed to be a trekking pack, but it is designed to be able to get all your gear into the field comfortably enough. And so we've got a nice padded hip belt and an adjustable sternum strap as well. So we'll go ahead and take the pack off and take the blind out of the bag. And one of the most important things to us, we've had blinds for years that you can't hardly get back inside the bag once you take it out. So we've got the bag built a little bit oversized, so it's fairly quick to shove it back in if you're on the run and want to be able to move your setup. The next step we're going to take is to actually set up the blind, and we recommend that you actually look at the setup video that we have on the website right here in the ground blind checkout station, because our blind is significantly taller than it is wide. We do that for comfort reasons. It's nice to be able to stand up when you're doing an all-day sit and not have to be hunched over inside the blind. We also don't want too big of a profile. If you're hunting whitetails or other things like that, we don't like to have too big of a footprint that you're trying to camouflage. So our ground blind has a special set of setup instructions that tend to work the best, and we'd recommend you take a look at that. The next thing we want to talk about are some of the outside features of the blind. We're using a pattern from Kuyu, their Verde pattern, and the fabric is a 600 denier polyester, very heavy duty. It's got a black PU backing on the inside, and you want to share a little bit about the cones. Yeah, and as far as like the fabric, that 600 denier, it's the toughest fabric that any ground blinds are made out of. So one of the things when we set out to design the blind was to make an ultra durable ground blind, and so we chose that fabric for that reason. And the reinforcing cones here on the corner, this is a material you can actually take sandpaper to and can't even hardly get it to actually even scar. We wanted to do that because we know a lot of ground blinds, the rod ends tend to try to poke out through the end, and during setup and takedown. We also reinforce the internal sleeves that the rod ends go into inside of these reinforcing cones with an extra layer of 600 denier fabric in order to make sure that that didn't happen. And finally we added a little layer of that right around here where the grommet is. Oftentimes we see ground blinds kind of tear out right through the grommet right there. So we've got a small section of that same really tough material right here. We also have the same material on our backpack on the inside where the hubs rub on the bottom when you're packing. A lot of times in those packs they can wear through on the bottom. So we've got this on the entire inside layer of that bottom area of our backpack. We added standard brush guards with like most ground blinds have, so you can do quite a bit of 3D camouflage right out of the box, so to speak. And then outside of that we added reinforcing material inside all of our gussets, fabric gussets, inside of all the little corners and radiuses where the fabric tends to go under a lot of stress while you're zipping and unzipping the blind, and during setup and takedown as well. We're going to take a peek inside the blind at some of the window configurations and talk to you about some of the design elements that we put into place for that. We're going to start on the back side of the blind. Most of the hunting is going to be done on the out of the front, but you'll find an occasion where you may want to use this. Rifle hunters, some smaller windows might work for you. This window also can zip up into a kind of a half size or full size, whatever you want to do there, to the half size, and leave that open, or you can bring it all the way up
and latch it there as well. And then we also have some oversized windows. Right now Jared has it at the hub height, but you can also bring that down, which we'll show over on this side. You can bring that down low, which is going to be really good for turkeys or younger hunters where they have a hard time getting that shot above the hub.
Now that we showed you the back windows, we want to show you the main feature of our ground blind that we spent a lot of time trying to decide exactly how to provide shooters more opportunities inside of a ground blind. We did a survey of hundreds of outdoor professionals, people that hunt and fish for a living, guides, outfitters, etc., and asked them what was wrong and what was right with current ground blinds on the market. And inevitably the answers came back. There weren't enough shooting opportunities and there wasn't enough durability. So we've already talked about durability. What we did was we took 180 degrees of this blind and skeletonized all the fabric off of it that we possibly could so that you can create more shooting opportunities way down low and way up high, all the way around the side. Most blinds tend to run out of shooting window around hub height, and that's fine for a flat field or an average sized hunter. But if you get a youth hunter in there, or you get on a slight angle, incline or decline, you all of a sudden start running into the top of your windows or the bottom of your windows. So in order to do this, we knew we had to have a very special fabric, and we actually sourced a fabric that's been developed and made specifically for us for this blind application. It's a 3-layer system where it has an external cloth layer, a central 4-way stretch membrane, and an internal cloth layer that's black. And basically it allows the fabric to have a tremendous amount of 4-way stretch inside of it. This allows the hunter to customize the window shape to fit your personal needs on any given hunt, whether it's the species that has special needs or whether it's the terrain. And as you'll see while Jake's taking down the windows here and opening up the upper window, there's an unlimited amount of shooting opportunity that we created by utilizing this patent pending 4-way stretch design that we thought was important based on the feedback that we saw from outdoor industry professionals and our own personal experience as well. One of the things that was really important to us when we were designing the ground blind was to come up with a set of shoot-through screens that worked really, really well in any given hunting scenario. And we took a lot of time figuring out a system that worked really well with our ground blind.
We wanted to make sure we had a really nice tight screen, easy to shoot through with mechanical broadheads. We also wanted to make sure that it was a silent system so we could put the screens up or take them down without a lot of noise. So we've eliminated any sort of Velcro or zippers on the screen. It's all a hook and loop system, so it's a silent system.
It's also really important, since our window system is so adjustable, to be able to still manipulate the window while the screens were up without having to take those down, make a window change, etc. So you'll notice that you're able to actually adjust the entire window system with the screens completely up on our ground blind. One other feature we designed into the XENEK ground blinds were self-healing tripod slots. Most of the time I spend in a ground blind, I wind up with another buddy or a family member, and I usually try to have a tripod inside of the blind, and as you can see, it takes up a lot of space, and space is always a commodity in a ground blind. So we designed a couple of tripod slots that when they're not in use, they still protect all the light from coming into the blind, but if you want to use them, you can simply and silently raise the flap a little bit. You stick one leg of the tripod through the slot, and it basically creates a ton more room inside the ground blind. Equally as important, it actually positions your camera lens out much closer to the actual field of view. When you're filming from inside of a ground blind, oftentimes you wind up not being able to see very much because the camera's way back inside. So this gets your camera lens right out by the window. It also frees up a ton of room inside the ground blind. And like I said, when they're not in use, they do not let any light into the blind. The next thing we want to talk about on our ground blinds are the hub locations. All 5 hub locations of our ground blind have integrated couplers that have internal and external threads that allow you to quickly and easily install accessories. Jake right now is installing one of our devices. We call it the mini mount. It's a great little tripod for mounting up personal point of view cameras like GoPros in this particular case. You can check out a more in-depth review of that particular product on the mini mount section in the website. But for now, we just want to make sure and point out that all 5 hubs of our blind come pre-installed with this hardware that allows you in seconds to install a variety of different accessories that make hunting out of a ground blind a little bit more comfortable.